We're on the Trade Center tour.
And this is where it starts?
I don't know.
At the Bell of Hope.
I don't like tours.
You should.
So, welcome, good morning, everybody.
We're in the Oculus building. Do you feel like you got swallowed up by a whale?
I feel like I've seen this building before. Like, I've seen the inside. That's what I feel like. I feel like I've seen the inside.
Check my up.
Oh, I know.
Do you want me to do it now? Well, I want to see that. You don't want to send it to me right now.
Oh, seats.
Basement of the Oculus.
I just want to she's over there. She's walking away. Mom, say bye to Trinity. Can I go sit on the seats? Oh, there's Gary.
Did any of you read the Diary of Anne Frank?
Yes.
Yes. And you know, it's the story of true story of a Jewish girl who was hidden from the Nazis in Amsterdam during World War II. And one of the few moments of inspiration she had a small window to look out of the attic that she was being hidden. And she could see a tree. And that tree inspired her to keep going day after day. In the wake of 9/11, the city of Amsterdam took a cutting from the Anne Frank tree and set it here, and that's it. That's the tree that Anne Frank, a cutting from the tree that Anne Frank saw outside her attic. Strong, I don't know if any of y'all have seen that. And this statue memorializes the Special Forces soldiers that were sent to Afghanistan in the wake of 9/11. And these guys, these were extremely well-trained soldiers who could, rappel out of a helicopter and stuff. What they didn't, some of them know how to do was ride a horse. And they quickly realized when they got to Afghanistan that their vehicles simply would not operate on some of those mountain tracks. So they got on horses in a hurry. So that is a modern day American soldier, cavalryman, all of a sudden. So let's come around here and see if there's any.
Ladder Company 10, 343 firefighters.
Towers.
Yep.
Was the Freedom Tower even a thing?
Freedom Tower is what's standing now. Well,
Was it even a thing when the Twin Towers got hit? That's why we got it.
To do was to convince people to come work here because by its location, by its size, this is obviously a target. And it seemed to work. It seems to have worked because this building is now back to pre-COVID occupancy levels at 92%, which is pretty impressive. But they had to do a few things, alter a few things to change the flaws from the old World Trade Center towers, although they weren't seen as flaws until people flew airplanes into them. But one of the things was that the old World Trade Center, the two towers, were built around these steel exoskeletons. And it was very innovative for the time because it meant that there could be big open office spaces in the middle of the building. But it was terrible when the planes hit because the planes crumpled the skeletons of the building, of both buildings. And unfortunately, the emergency stairwells, which were also built on the outsides of those buildings. So that on that day, 90% of the people who died in these buildings died either at the point of the plane crash or above, because they simply could not get down. So among the things that they did when they decided to rebuild here was that this building right here, it sits on a 190-foot concrete slab that is built to withstand any kind of car bomb, explosion, whatever. They put these glass panels around it to make it look slightly less brutal, and I'm not sure that was particularly successful, but that's what they're there for. The those sort of gill-looking things at the top, this building has a system inside to whisk smoke, chemical, or biological weapons up into the system and vent it out of those gills there at the top of the building. And those of you who remember your high school science will remember the DNA, the double helix, right? The stairwells are built in the middle of the building as a double helix so that people can get down and emergency workers can get up. And the stairwell is also at a higher pressure, air pressure than the rest of the building, so smoke won't follow you in. And I've been reliably told that this building is the worst place in the world to set down a backpack or a briefcase and walk away. There is a scanning system with algorithms that detect anything that's left by anybody. And when you turn around, it will probably have been taken. It will be gone. But the building that is here that we see now is the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere, thanks to a small trick, which is this tower on the top of the building. And the tower on the top of the building, it doesn't receive anything. It doesn't transmit anything. It doesn't do anything except add 400 feet.
Lightning rod?
Yeah, it could be a lightning rod, I guess.
It also changes colors.
It does change colors. I mean, you could probably dock a blimp there if you wanted to. I don't know, but basically it was added to give this 400 more feet and bring the total to 1,776 feet. People recognize that number? 1776 was the year, of course, that the Declaration of Independence was signed. And we have Irish people along, but I don't think we have any British people. I usually say, no hard feelings, right? At this point. But at any rate, it is a remarkable building, and those of you who are going to the observatory today have an incredible day to see it. I think it's cloudless. So this is the famous survivor tree. And this tree, like the sphere, was out in the middle between these buildings and was completely buried in the rubble. It was 5 weeks before it was found and it was almost completely destroyed, burned. The city but that was put out here because it's the first tree to leaf out in the spring and the last to lose a tree. This one has outlived the lifespan of a Callery pear by 15 years already. But like the Anne Frank tree, cuttings from this tree are taken and sent all around the world to cities that have suffered terrorist attacks or natural disasters. So that this survivor tree is not only a symbol of rebirth for New York City, but for cities all over the world. So if you guys please take your time, and I'll meet you right over here by
The red bandana hero that I couldn't record because of the jackhammering and the New York love sounds.
Yes. So, as much as the day was grim and dark, it was also a day for heroes and a day of inspiration. And one of the great heroes of that day was a man called Wells Crowther, who became remembered as the man with the red bandana. He was a commodities trader who was also a volunteer fireman. And he came down immediately when he saw the North Tower get hit. And he was credited with going in and out of those buildings 18 times, helping people to get out before he himself went in and never came out.
Does anybody else besides me call this like the Forever Fountain?
I don't know. I like that though.
Because it just keeps going.
Yeah.
And you remember forever.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. So this is, of course, the center of the experience here. This is the Memorial Garden, or the Memorial Glade, as it's called. And the first thing you notice, of course, is I was just saying, is it's literally a different temperature. I mean, this is someplace set apart from the buzzing, honking life of the city outside. And the first thing you see, of course, are these trees. There are 420 of these swamp white oaks, which were chosen for their longevity. They're tough trees, and they're supposed to last for 300 years. But New York City being New York City, not everything is exactly as it appears. Beneath your feet are not only all the subway lines, all the tunnels. There are 13 subway lines down there. There is also gangways where the arborists who tend to these trees tend to their roots from underground, which I think is pretty amazing.
So there could be someone underneath there right now?
Yes, there could be someone underneath there right now, watering this tree and taking care of it. So it's pretty extraordinary. So the design for this, you can imagine, was hotly contested. I think there were 5,000 finalists. And the design that was finally chosen by an Israeli-American called Michael Arad and an American landscape architect called Peter Walker was called Reflecting Absence. And, that's like one of those nice poetic phrases, oh, reflecting absence, But when you think about it, it's a very odd thing to say, because how do you reflect something that isn't there, right? And the way they chose to reflect something that isn't there is through these fountains. There's one there, and they are the actual footprints of the World Trade Center towers. That's the South Tower, and that's the North Tower. And inside them, they are an acre in size. And inside them, you will see in just a minute, are these rather extraordinary fountains. They are they're beautiful, but they create a kind of contemplative or meditative experience just through the sound and through the motion. And in the middle of them are deeper pools, and from nowhere on these grounds, including from the observatory, can you see the bottom of those middle pools. And it was just another way that these people had to express the absence of something that was gone and will never come back again. All the way around on these plaques are the names of people who were killed on that day. And the extraordinary thing is that they tried to do this with what they called meaningful adjacencies. What that meant was that they wanted this, they polled the survivors and the survivors' family, or the victims' families, and said, who would your loved one like to be next to on this plaque? So these names, these meaningful adjacencies, are people who were maybe in the same firehouse, or were co-workers at one of these offices, or we have a guy who lost a grandfather and an uncle on that day, and the grandfather and uncle are listed side by side. It took a year to get all of those names right, to put them on this on these plaques. And you'll see, I think I see one here. Sometimes in the hot weather they don't do it, but yeah, there's one, a white rose, and they put the white roses out when it's someone's birthday. And also family members come by and sort of do their own memorials. They're all cleaned up at night, and it starts fresh again in the morning. But one of the things that I think is notable about this also is that the plaques around the outside are heated in the winter and cooled in the summer, so that you can touch them, you can put your hands on them. And there's a runnel of the water that's going into the fountain underneath, so you can touch that water also. It's a tactile experience in addition to having just that kind of hypnotic fountain effect.
It's what I call the forever fountain. You can touch the water that runs through it. How does it
wash your
feel?
hands with it?
No. Making the best out of being stuck here another 2 days.
Honestly, I could just chill, so I got what I wanted. Remember when I said I just want to chill for a day? Now I get to chill for 2 days. Making the best out of a bad situation at the firehouse they used in Ghostbusters.
Who you gonna call?
Ghostbusters.
Are you sure? Ghostbusters!
There's something strange in the neighborhood. Who you gonna call?
There's Liam! We're gonna call Liam.
Oh, Liam! It looks like this could be like a ritual. You put something here, here, and here, and then the ritual.
We're finally going home. How do you feel?
Home. Rainforest back there.
I can't tell what those are saying.
It gave us the time.
So you can't tell what they're saying.
It has different messages on it.
Okay.
There, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, Staten Island.
That was cool.
And then it gives you the subway letters.
Donuts and bagels. I got a bagel.
This is a special announcement. For security reasons, please keep your luggage and all packages with you at all times until they are checked. Unattended baggage will be removed immediately for inspection and may be damaged or destroyed. For security reasons, do not accept packages or bags that do not belong to you. This is a special announcement. For security reasons, please keep your luggage and all packages with you at all times until they are checked. Unattended baggage will be removed immediately for inspection and may be damaged or destroyed. For security reasons, do not accept packages or bags that do not belong to you.
The 37? Oh, we're that one. Let's see, definitely that one.
It was going